Hello and welcome to the video series of VPN configuration on Checkpoint Firewall. In this video series, we will see how a VPN has to be created on a Checkpoint Firewall. We will also introduce few concepts when NAT is being used with the VPNs, and we will also see how the basic troubleshooting has to be done on the Checkpoint Firewall if phase 1 and phase 2 is not coming up. I'll come up with a new video series altogether for all the advanced scenarios. So let's see what we will cover in this video series. So you guys have to log into your exam portal to see this assignment in the topology. So for task 1 it says create a VPN tunnel between Checkpoint Firewall and a Cisco router. So if you see the topology, there is a small change now. So instead of that Vita router, now we have a Cisco router in R2. So VPN tunnel has to be created between Checkpoint Firewall and the Cisco router. And the encryption domain for this VPN tunnel will be R1 loopback and R2 loopback. So if you see, it says phase 1 configuration, encryption 3-dash, hashing MD5, Diffie-Hellman group 2. You are allowed to use pre-shared key of your choice. And then we have phase 2 configuration, which is AES SHA1, and encryption domain is R1 loopback and R2 loopback. And the verification says R1 loopback to R2 loopback traffic should traverse over VPN tunnel. And we have to verify logs, essays, and everything. Okay, so let me go to my test machine, which is 192.168.70.100. So we will first start the configuration on Checkpoint Firewall, and then we will move to the Cisco, how it has to be done. So very first step on Checkpoint Firewall is to enable the IPsec blade. So open Checkpoint Firewall object and click on IPsec VPN blade, and then click on OK. So now we have enabled the IPsec process on the Checkpoint Firewall. Now select Checkpoint Firewall, go to Checkpoint, More, and then Externally Managed VPN Gateway. So this step says with which device you want to create a VPN tunnel. So as you all know, it is an object-based firewall. So first object has to be created for the peer device. So select this option, and I have given the name as R2 and specify the IP address, which is 136.1.122.12, I believe. So let me verify that. Show interface. So it is 136.1.122.12. And similarly, enable firewall and IPsec blade here. Now for phase 1 and phase 2 configurations, we need to create a VPN community. So go to this last tab, right click on this side of site, and now we have two options, mesh and star. If spoke only wants to communicate with hub, we will use star topology, and if you want spoke also to be communicate to each other, in that case we can use mesh. So we have two firewalls, it can be either mesh or a star. So let's say it is a star. Name the community as CP-R2. Center gateway is always your firewall, which is CP port, and satellite gateway will always be a remote firewall, which is R2 in this case. Now we will start with phase 1 configuration. So in phase 1 main mode we discussed, message number 1 and 2 is protection parameter exchange, and that does cover encryption, hashing, authentication method, and lifetime. So go to encryption and click on custom encryption. So we decided to use 3-dash as an encryption for phase 1 and MD5 as a hashing for phase 1. So we can verify that again. So it says 3-dash as encryption and hashing is MD5. Authentication will be PSK and Diffie-Hellman group will be 2. Awesome. So click on OK here. Then go to shared secret, enable this option and specify the key. So key here is Cisco 123. So Cisco 123. Diffie-Hellman group by default is 2 in case of checkpoint firewall. So go to advanced VPN properties and we can see Diffie-Hellman group is 2. So we have done the configuration of message number 1 and 2 in main mode. Now message number 3 and 4 doesn't require any configuration because it does take input from message number 1 and 2 and initiate the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. And for message number 5 and 6, authentication happens, for which we have specified the shared secret key. So phase 1 configuration is done. Now go to phase 2. So encryption, again custom, and this time we are using AES as encryption and SHA-1 as the hashing. Okay. PFS is by default disabled. We are not using as well in this lab, so keep this option disabled and click on OK. The only change now is related to encryption domain. So go to checkpoint firewall object, select topology, and by default you will see this option, which is all IP addresses behind this gateway based on the topology information. So we don't want everything to go over a VPN tunnel, so we have one specific requirement, which is 150.1.1.0, which is a local subnet. So click on OK. And remote subnet is 160.1.1.0. So go to R2 object, go to topology, and select the remote and select that 160.1.1.0 here as part of encryption domain. Yes. So okay. One small change here is, so the IP address of my CP port is 192.168.70.102, and we have decided to use this object as part of VPN community. So checkpoint firewall will always try to do the encapsulation with this IP address, which is 192. But if you go to topology, my encapsulation should happen with 136.1.122 IP address. So how to change this encapsulation configuration? So go to IPsec VPN tab, go to link selection. By default, you will see the option selected as main address. You guys need to change this to selected address from the topology table, and it is 136.1.122.102. Okay. Now security policy configuration. So add rule below. I want, for example, only 150.1.1.0 to communicate with 160.1.1.0. We have already discussed what exactly is the use case for this specific tab. So if we do not specify VPN community, also traffic, in that case also traffic will go over the VPN tunnel. So let's keep service as any action except and logging enabled. So we are almost done with the configuration on checkpoint firewall. So click on install policy and OK. Now go to Cisco router. Configuration. Similar to checkpoint firewall, first we need to enable the process. So crypto ISACamp enable is the command to trigger this VPN process. Now to configure phase 1 configuration, we will create crypto ISACamp policy, and you can give any number to this policy between 1 to 65535. And encryption we decided to use 3 days here. Hashing was MD5. Authentication method is pre-shared key. And group is 2. Awesome. So now specify the key which we will be using for the authentication. So crypto ISACamp key, and then key is Cisco 123, and address which is the peer IP address 136.1.122.102. So phase 2 configuration, crypto IPsec transform set, and transform set is P2. Encryption we will use as AES, and hashing in this case we will use as maybe SHA. Yes, it was SHA. Okay. So for encryption domain, we will create a crypto ACL 101 permit IP. My local IP address is 160.1.1.0 and wildcard mask, which is 0.0.255, and the remote is 150.1.1.0 and the wildcard is 0.0.0.255. One last step, create a crypto map with the name, for example, Troika. Specify a sequence number to this crypto map and the type is IPsec ISACamp. So set transform set P2, which we created, then set peer, which is 136.1.122.102, which is checkpoint firewall, and then match address, which is 101. Now go to interface and apply this crypto map. So interface GI0/1 I believe is the interface which we will use for the encapsulation. And then crypto map Troika. So we do see ISACamp is now on. So let me quickly verify the interface configuration and the routing configuration. So we do have one loopback address, we do have 0/1 configured. The only thing now need to check is the routing. So show route, maybe show IP route, show IP route, and we have a default route pointing towards firewall, perfectly fine. Now go to R1. Here is R1. Let me change the font settings. And so show interfaces. Okay, we have 150 and then netstat minus rn should see. So route is there towards firewall. All is good now. Go to checkpoint firewall, policy has been pushed. We will launch smart view tracker and we will see if we are able to ping or not over this VPN tunnel. So ping 160.1.1.1 and source interface would be 150.1.1.1 and try to initiate traffic. So we are able to ping 160.1.1.1 from 150.1.1.1. So let's quickly verify the logs if this traffic is traversing over the VPN or not. So go to smart view tracker and refresh the logs. And if you see this log entry which says traffic from 150.111 to 160.111 is being encrypted now. So there are some other interesting logs as well. So if you open this first log, it says main mode has been completed. And if you open second log entry, it says quick mode received notifications. So main mode has been completed. Now both are negotiating on phase 2. And once you see the third log entry, we should be able to see the encryption domain which has been negotiated is 150.1.1.0 and 160.1.1.0. So traffic from 150.1.1.0 to 160.1.1.1.0 will always go over a VPN tunnel. So you can verify same with the help of CLI as well. Now go to checkpoint firewall CLI and log in with username and password. So command is VPN space TU. So there are multiple options here. All IK essays, all IPsec essays, essays for a given peer. So we have just VPN tunnel. So for simplicity, I'm using option number 1. And I can see I have a essay with peer device 136.1.122.12. And if I press 2 to see all phase 2 essays, I can see a pair of essay. One is for outbound traffic and second is for inbound traffic. Okay. Now if you see so we discussed about the concept of SPIs in theory. So we should see the inbound SPI has to be equivalent to the outbound SPI on Cisco router. And similarly, the outbound SPI here should be equivalent to the inbound SPI. So let's verify this. So show crypto ISACamp essay is the command on Cisco to see phase 1 is up or not. And then show crypto IPsec essay is for phase 2 essays. But if you see, it says 6 packets has been encapsulated and encrypted and 6 packets are being decrypted as well. So current outbound SPI, so we can see the inbound SPI. So inbound SPI here is 4074E and the outbound SPI here is 4074E, and here inbound is 5102B8, and here outbound should be outbound. Here it is 012B8. 012B8. So we could see the SPIs are reverse. So the SPI which is inbound on checkpoint firewall is basically the outbound on Cisco, and whatever is outbound on checkpoint is inbound on the Cisco router. So that's all I have in my mind for this video. So in next video we will see with some NAT concept, how to introduce NAT with the VPN. So thank you for watching this video series, and I hope you are enjoying this video series from Troika System.